Okay, hi, and welcome to another episode of eCom at One, the e-commerce podcast. Today, I've got Doreen Morin Van Dam, all the way from Pittsburgh Field in Vermont, in the USA, who is an organic social media specialist and community specialist. How are you doing, Doreen?
Good. How are you this morning?
I'm really good. I'm really good. We've got quite a time difference, haven't we? I think.
Yeah, I guess it's morning for me and afternoon for you. So 5 hours, not that bad. It could be worse.
Yeah. I'm getting ready to wrap up the day. You're just getting going.
Yeah. No, for sure.
So, Doreen, I know a few of our colleagues have been listening to some of your content online and the different summits that you're doing, but could you give us a bit of a sort of career story to date, really, what you've been doing?
Sure. I'm going to totally date myself when I do that, but I was a stay-at-home mom for many, many years. I have 4 children three of them now are young adults. One is still in high school, but when my youngest, who now is in high school, started kindergarten, I was kind of lost. You know, I had been a mom and prior to that, a nanny for other people's children. And so it was right around 2010. As about 10 years ago. And, Twitter was really picking up and Facebook. And my husband has had his own business forever. And he said, ever since I've been out of school, marketing has changed. Can you just help me and do some research? So not only did I do some research, I started helping him. I took an online course on how to become a social media manager, just thinking that would be a cool thing to do.
10 years ago, yeah.
10 years ago. And, started working. I didn't know anything about the business world, never worked in a business world, and just went and did it. I became the social media director of a local nonprofit, got a title, plucked that title put it on LinkedIn, and opened my shop. And, I've evolved. I started out with a lot of local marketing and local businesses. I still have several local businesses that I help. It's a different kind of marketing. I do everything for them, including the blogging and the community outreach and the PR, even some pieces for them. And then I'm also working with international customers, clients. I'm doing strategy with somebody in Shanghai right now, and I'm working on a big national brand, and I still have some nonprofits. So it really has changed. I did a couple of years in between that I really focused on B2B, which was really cool as well, like plumber and heating and HVAC and security, because they also take a special kind of strategy. So I've kind of evolved. And then the last few years, I've really concentrated and kind of found that niche of being that organic specialist. And I know, I've seen the questions that you're going to ask me, so we'll go back to that and why. But it's really where my love is for organic social media.
I think it's quite rare now. I think a lot of people in the space have gone more paid, and I'm really looking forward to obviously digging into this organic side, which we'll come to.
Yeah.
So obviously most of our listeners, so obviously lots of experience there, all different niches. Sort of worn a lot of different hats over the years and different, for all the, like you say, HVAC, aircon. There's not much of that going on here, to be fair.
Yeah. But heating would. I mean, HVAC means, heating, ventilation. So, yeah.
So obviously a lot of different niches. And obviously the podcast, most of the listeners are e-commerce. They're e-commerce stores. Most of our listeners are sort of on Shopify, Magento, or the different platforms, WooCommerce, etc. What would you say? What are sort of some of the best channels do you think, or best things that you've seen for e-commerce stores?
Well, I thought about that question, and I've had several customers that I've advised and did strategy with. And I think one of the big ones that people don't always think about, especially in Europe, I think, because they might be a little bit more behind, is Pinterest. I'm from the Netherlands. I was born and raised there. And so I have some colleagues there who have been trying to promote Pinterest for many years. And they were the platform was behind, Promoted Pins was a couple of years behind, but now you can advertise on Pinterest. It gives huge value. Every pin, it has a value for up to 4 months that people will see it, that's active. Whereas a tweet might be 2 minutes and a Facebook post might be a few hours. Pinterest pin will actually, really drive traffic for a much longer time. And so I think with an e-commerce store, it's something that's overlooked a lot. And if a lot of your audience is in the UK, I would highly encourage them to start looking at that platform if that's not something they're doing.
What would be a good place to start? Let's say I'm a UK business. I'm trying to think of something. I'm selling, let's say, a nice range of men's clothing.
Yeah, yeah,
Purple shirt range of men's clothing, my favorite color.
yeah.
Where would I start with Pinterest, trying to get the name out on Pinterest?
I would say educate yourself first. Don't just start a Pinterest account and not know what you're doing. There are some incredible experts out there. I am not an affiliate or anything, but I use a tool called Tailwind. They're based out of Oklahoma. I visited them before. They're my friends over there. But they had a scheduling tool. They are a Pinterest partner. They have an incredible library of videos and teaching education about Pinterest. They have a live show every week. You can learn a lot from them, and I would highly recommend. They often have Pinterest staff that come to their live shows. I would recommend following them to get started, and then really diving deep into both the organic side, where you can do a lot, and now the paid side. So you marry the two and you really drive, of course, traffic to your pins, to what you're selling is great. Part of that is that I would highly recommend, if you have an e-commerce store, to also blog. I'm a content manager, so I always recommend that you blog with the seasons. You talk about what's going on. If you're selling purple men's shirts, talk about the color purple and talk about shirts and buying and Father's Day gifts and all of those things on your blog, because people will click through and then find your shirt. So blogging and Pinterest together are a beautiful combo.
And massaging in the paid when you've probably got some traction, establish the pins, the page, and then do the paid. Yeah, the paid Pinterest is not something I have. We have an ad agency, obviously, and we haven't really looked at Pinterest, complete honesty. We've not looked at that. So that's definitely something I know I'm going to go away and have a look at. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things we just had, I'm working with a client. We just had a consult with a Pinterest paid ad manager. So they can help. I mean, if you're ready to spend money, they'll give you a dedicated ad manager. And one of the things to remember is you create these ads and let them run for a couple of weeks. It takes a little bit of time, but they're not like, hey, this is an ad campaign and I need to watch it every day. And Facebook ads very different than Pinterest ads. So you really need to look at the long-term goals. And if you have specific items that are seasonal, you've got to have to plan out ahead, but they can yield big results. So definitely for e-commerce, Pinterest, I think.
First conversation I've had about Pinterest, whether it's organic or paid. So very excited to have a look at that.
Cool.
So, what advice would you give to businesses wanting to increase their social media following, sort of e-commerce stores that are looking to increase their overall following, brand on social?
I always recommend having conversations. So one of the things that is really being pushed big by Facebook is Facebook groups. So even if you're an e-commerce brand, say you are selling men's clothing, you could have, I always recommend, and this is kind of my strategy, 2 groups. The big one is, kind of like top of the funnel, where you have men who like nice clothes, could be your group, or, fashion advice for men, fashion advice for businessmen. There's something pretty general, but that would kind of get your target audience in that group. And if you're the brand and you own that group, you can do research in there, you can do polls, you can do surveys, you can find influencers, all of those things in that group. You get people talking to each other. That's your big funnel. And then within the group, when you place the content and you have the conversations, which a lot more people will see the conversations than if you were having them on a Facebook page, then you can also create a VIP group. You can put brand ambassadors, influencers in there, people who've bought from you. You give them special coupons and you kind of move them over there. Maybe they're on your email list. And so now you have 2 different audiences. You have that wide funnel, you have that small funnel, and you can get them to help you become that brand ambassador for you, even unpaid, just by giving them access to special coupons and codes and offers and things. So Facebook groups are really big, but you have to have conversations, and you have to have somebody dedicated in your company that can have that conversation with your customers, that understands your brands, understands your products, loves your products, lives the products, wears the products. So it's a genuine conversation. And that works well for almost every business model. Think about a pizzeria in London. If they had the Facebook group, London Loves Pizza, anybody that puts in London and pizza in Facebook would come to the group, would find the group, and then you can talk about pizza and why do we love pizza and what are the best pizza places. But if you're one of the places in London that owns pizzeria, you can of course steer people there. So that's kind of the strategy behind that, and it works really well. I've seen it work for realtors, restaurants, event planners, banks. I've seen it work for a lot of different industries. So I would think that it would work for e-commerce.
And then do you find that the people that are in the group, the sort of people that are really passionate about that topic, they obviously contribute a lot, and then you can almost step back a little bit on some threads because they're obviously doing the work for you?
Yes, for sure. You cannot have a group without a community manager and somebody in charge. But for sure, they are very passionate because they're in that group. And I don't know if you guys have an Aldi in the UK. Do you guys have Aldi stores?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that is kind of a new thing in the US in the last 5 years. We finally got Aldi from Europe to come over. Those groups are nuts. They are crazy. And there's all kinds of Aldis for vegans, Aldi lovers, Aldi deals. But the people in there are so passionate. So the people that own an Aldi store don't have to do anything. They're in there talking. You've got to go into this store and here's where you find these products. So that's really what you want. You want other people to have a conversation about you, but you want to be present to listen and to get the information. What are the words they use? What are they use to describe you? What do they say about your products? You can do research in your groups if you're the group owner. So it's super powerful.
Love it. So you've got your group and you're filtering subgroups. Is there any sort of technology you would recommend and things you would recommend to sort of take? So somebody, you go to Facebook, you say you want to be part of a group, and you get the questions come up, don't you? That's like, oh, are you a man interested in purple shirts? Are you a vegan? Are you how long have you been? But then my understanding is then you can once they submit, there's different tools that will then also push that email into like an email list away from Facebook. Is that right?
Yeah. We, as a community manager for one of the groups, we're testing a tool right now. Don't love it. I'm not going to mention it. We're looking at some other options. But in a matter of 6 weeks, we've collected it's a big group, 3,000 email addresses. Yeah. People are giving it to us. So the other thing we've done previous to that is where we had, one of the questions was, please click the link in rule number 1. And that was a click to go to our messenger chat bot. So by them clicking, we would have a conversation with them in the chat bot. So those are 2 different things that you can do for sure. You want to capture as much information as you can about the people coming into your group. And that's kind of a new thing because they used to not have those questions there, but use them to get data on your group. We ask how did you find us? And we find articles about our group because we're mentioned, because people say, oh, I read about you in Forbes, or I read about you in this article, or this influencer mentioned you. So then we can go find those articles and say, hey, thanks for mentioning our group. So definitely use those questions to, get that. It's all about data. What can you know about your target audience? It's super, super important. So use those questions wisely.
I love it. Obviously, if you're an info product creator, those questions are going to help you create the content, create a course, create the sections, the index of the course, the whole content piece is then
right.
Rather than and hoping what they want because they're asking or telling you either in those entry questions or in the group when you're posting polls, you're posting questions, or your users are posting questions, the whole community are jumping in and then giving advice. It's raw data. But it's the right data, isn't it? It's the people that you are targeting that are in your group.
Exactly.
You know what they want. You can ask them anything else what else do you want? That type of thing. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's very powerful. And Facebook, I don't know in the UK, but in the US, Facebook is actually advertising on national TV during big shows. And at promoting their groups. That's what they're doing. It's a big push for groups.
Yeah, but obviously it will be. I'm sure. Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
Be. Okay, so I'm loving Facebook groups and that siphoning off, subgroups. I love that idea. So maybe talk a bit more about some of the best campaigns, or the best campaign you've worked on in social for our listeners. Give us a bit of insight into something maybe.
Yes. So there's a small brand that I've been part of for 5 years. I finally said goodbye to them because I found somebody local, because I moved from South Carolina to Vermont, and I have been with this company for it's one of my long-term clients that I'd had for 5.5 years, but they found somebody local to take pictures for their e-commerce store. But it's a small retail store that is and it's really funny when I say it's all about purple. Everything. It's called the Purpleologist.
No way!
Yes.
What's it called?
So,
write it down again.
It's called Purpleologist. And I have been part of that brand for a while. It's a small retail store, but they have an e-commerce side. What we've done there, they're ready now. I think they're finally ready to maybe start running ads and doing more, but they've been really busy just with what they had in the store, and not the e-commerce side has kind of been a side thought to them, even though I was telling them, they're ready. But we've built up an incredible audience of purple loving people. And they are the most engaged group audience I've ever worked with. I could post a picture of a purple mushroom or purple hat or anything. I would have thousands of people sharing and liking. And it is, so we hit it right with the audience. We've built it organically. She has sold online, but they are loyal. They are from everywhere. And they went on Pinterest, and they actually had people come into their store and say, I saw you on Pinterest. I'm from Australia and I'm visiting the US and I wanted to come to your store. Like mind-blowing things. And again, their budget was small, so we didn't do all of the things, but I find that very successful because we've really honed in on their audience. So it's now ready to whoever takes over and whatever budget they decide to go and reap the benefits of that. So that is one. And then another local one that I've been part of for a long time is a security company. And in South Carolina, we have hurricanes, lived through a couple of hurricanes. And so it wasn't very active for a couple of years, but the last 5 years, we've basically had evacuations, and we call them hurrications. If you've never heard that word, kind of fun. Not really. When you have 4 dogs, you evacuate, but we call them hurrications. And so they started doing, we started putting out the South Carolina Hurricane Guide for homeowners as a security company. So what do you need to do to plan in June when the hurricane season starts? What do you need to do in July and August? When should you get your supplies ready? What should you do when the storm comes? How should you protect your home? And it's been a very successful campaign. So we put it out in 2018. We renewed in 2019. And we just put out the next one, 2020, adding a whole chapter on how to evacuate or go to a shelter with COVID-19 going, right? So how do we do? The local people aren't even sure what's going to happen, but we're providing this service. Like, at least think about it. That we're going to be short in supplies. We're already short in supplies right now with toilet paper. So think about hurricane season and cleaning supplies. Buy extra a little bit now. Like, think ahead to where you might want to evacuate to when that hits, because where you would normally go might not be available. So getting that out there. But that's been a very successful campaign because it drives a lot of traffic. It drives, we just started a Facebook group for them, a hurricane prep group for that same company. And we have, not that many people in it yet, but we know as soon as the first hurricanes on the horizon in the Atlantic, people will go because they'll be looking to Facebook and this group's ready. We have lots of information in it, and they'll come, and then that community will grow. But that's a company that owns that group. So I think that's a very successful campaign as well.
So with something like that then, so that's a Facebook group, yeah. So obviously Facebook announced, I think, probably about 3 weeks ago, their sort of partnership with Shopify and other platforms, I believe, where you can set up Facebook shops. Specific. Is that something I know it's quite new and it's sort of new territory, but is there anything you can tell us about that?
No, I haven't looked at it. I'm in the group that I'm in. I've had lots of people ask questions. Actually, an interesting question came up yesterday, and I'm waiting to see if anybody has the answer. But she said that this is a social media manager who was running Facebook ads, whose owner of the company set up Shopify ads or ads to the Shopify, and she's like, I think they're competing. So has anybody else dealt with it? So I'm waiting to hear. I think a lot of people are collecting data. I haven't had anybody say this is what happened. A lot of people are asking about it. So I think it's a little bit too early. I haven't really seen anything come out. And
here in the UK, you know, we're hit Shopify. Something we follow quite closely. Obviously, we're an e-commerce agency, but Shopify, they seem to be in the news all the time at the moment with different partnerships. I think it was announced a couple of days ago, a partnership with Walmart in the US as well, where I think my understanding is that if you are a Shopify merchant, and so many merchants with the new partnership with Walmart will be able to list their products on the Walmart website. So Walmart will then have an inventory of millions of SKUs on their website, rather than just the Walmart product to try and rival. It's a bit extreme.
Amazon, right?
Yeah. So that's an interesting play, I think. But then Shopify have also done a deal with Facebook and with Walmart. So yeah, they're really.
It'll be interesting how that goes. This is a huge, vast, wide country, and having just moved to a rural area, I can tell you, even though we love Amazon Prime, Walmart delivers faster. I can order something today by noon, and tomorrow I get Walmart on my front porch, on my front deck. Yeah. And if I order something from Amazon, it's 2 days. And I'm rural. I don't even get mail delivered.
Yeah.
But I can get Walmart delivered the next day.
That's interesting, isn't it? So certain states and certain areas, like you say, whereas more built up city type, it's going to be a lot quicker. Yeah.
Yeah. So it really depends. So that because we have so many different demographics and so many different areas in the US, and that must have been a big need for this. So yeah. I do think it's something to watch. Yeah. I don't usually rush into things when new things come up. I'm kind of like putting my ear to the ground and listening to it. And since I don't do much on the paid side, it's on my radar, but I don't have any experience with it. A
few of us here follow Shopify share value, and I know their shares, I think since launch, they've gone up tenfold, so 1,000% increase.
Whoa.
Since lockdown, so 23rd of March in the UK was lockdown, and around that day, sort of the stock market crashed, if you like, and Shopify shares have doubled since that day. More than doubled now. So it's quite an interesting one.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, people don't want to go anywhere. They want things delivered.
I think they're giving away 6 months worth of, service for free. So if you want to start a store as a retailer, you want to start an e-commerce store, you've got 6 months free on Shopify. So obviously they're 3-4 months into that, or 3 months into that. So in 3 months' time, all those people will be paying, which will be probably another million. I don't know the numbers exactly, but
yeah,
hundreds of thousands. And obviously all these partnerships are definitely one to keep an eye on. So organic social media, paid social media, we've got the two sort of, and I think quite often what I see, quite often the people I speak to, you're more sort of one or the other a little bit, or maybe a little bit of work combining the two. But what would you say, you've got to choose one or the other? What's your sort of theory on that? Or sort of?
I definitely don't choose one or the other. They actually work.
I'm trying to back you in the corner there, but you're not having it.
No, I'm not having it. They work really well together. Your Facebook ads are going to work better if you have organic social media. Yeah. And organic social media is going to give you the social proof that you're actually a brand that cares for people. If I see an ad, and it's what a lot of people do, they click through to the page, because we've been served ads for products that are coming out of different countries, and we want to make sure that this is a reputable company. And if I go to a page and all I see is the ad and there's nothing there, I'm not going to buy anything from them. So the organic social shows what you're doing, who you are as a company, that you sell, that you have products, that you are located somewhere. People can contact you for customer service, because that's important when you're ready to order something. And your ads just work better. So I actually, that's kind of how I became the organic specialist. I started working with an ad agency 1.5 years ago, because they needed an organic person for 3 of their accounts. And they're like, we don't have anybody that does this. You know, you talk about, you know, doing social media and you're posting and you're organically posting. Can you do this for these businesses? And I started doing it, and their ad spend was less. They did better. They, you know, and it's so I've taken on the title because it really enhances what they do, and what I do, and the brands love it. So I'm having the conversations even with the people in the ads. You know, sometimes they ask things, I monitor DMs, I put posts up there. It's more than just a product post or a buy my stuff post. There's, you know, Father's Day's coming up. We have a lovely, you know, picture of a father and a son, and, you know, there's nothing to sell right there, but those are needed to show that this is a real brand. So if you're just doing paid, you're doing yourself a disservice. And if you're just doing organic, but you need to push products and services and you want to sell a webinar or a product, you know, you need to have the paid. So they work so well together. But
yeah, I think that ties into the sort of next topic, really. I think, you know, as an agency, we don't manage organic social media on its own. We don't do it. You know, we'll run paid ads, and we will then only run some organic, but only if you're running paid. You know, you've got to be running paid with us, as we won't manage your, you know, your paid.
Right.
Even then,
right.
We put 95% of our time into the paid. So, question is, you know, how can we really make money from the organic side? You know, when you're, I think, you know, when you're spending, say, you know, you're spending $2,000 a month or $2,000, $5,000 a month on paid ads. In Facebook ads, for example, and then, you know, the platform is telling you the ROAS is 5 times, so 5 times 5 is 25, so you've got your 25k back. It's very transparent from an agency point of view, from a customer point of view. I've got my 25k back, so it's working. Whereas on organic, I think this is what, so it's.
I mean, it is much harder to prove that. But one of the things that you know, that I wanted to mention there is that the customer service part, the you know, the being there for, you know, to have conversations, to listen, to see what your customers are doing, because don't we all know that it's much cheaper to keep a customer and upsell than it is to get new customers constantly, right? Retention marketing, that's really what this is all about. And that's what organic social media is about. So you're spending all this money on selling one product or getting one new customer, but what are you doing to keep that customer and being able to then upsell to them? Because that's where your value is. I think it's like 5 times as expensive to get a new customer than sell something to a current customer. So that's where your organic comes in to
helps conversion rates, helps the, you know, if you're running paid, you're likely to get a lot more return, because they see the organic activity and go, yeah, this is a real company. That's
authenticity.
Interested, real, authentic, honest. They're responding very quickly. You know, they're consistent. Yeah.
So that's where it's that brand awareness. It's the having the conversations. It's the authenticity. It's the caring for your audience. It's recognizing that they're humans, what they need. You have to read between the lines. You know, I can give you all kinds of examples of people that complain about a sink being broken, but they're really complaining about, you know, their wife being in the hospital. You know, sometimes you have to read between the lines. And as a manager, as a organic, you know, person that is on Facebook and that's listening to the DMs and the comments, that's what I find. And having a human being there, having that organic listening and engagement is allowing you to get to your customer, to get to know your customer better, serve them better, ultimately get better products, offer things better, and really understand that language, right? Because you want to talk to a customer and how they talk about your product. I always liken that to taking, you know, retention marketing, having that baby customer, that first touch, maybe they bought something small for you, and creating them into a super fan. You know, like a brand ambassador, a loyal person that you don't even have to pay. I'm not wearing a shirt today that says something, but my child has a shirt that says Nike. Yeah. I paid that money for him to go advertise, right?
Crazy, isn't it, really? Yeah.
Right.
That's the aim, isn't it?
That is the aim, to be t-shirt worthy. I always use this. I have a talk about retention marketing.
That's great. That's great.
You need to be t-shirt worthy. I have t-shirts that I got for free at trade shows.
Yeah.
I've got t-shirts that I earned from running. You know, I'm a marathon runner, but then I have t-shirts that I went to a conference and paid $1,500 for the conference. And then I paid $20 to buy the shirt to wear it. Like, I'm crazy. But if you're t-shirt worthy, yep, then you've made it. So that's really your goal. And you cannot be t-shirt worthy if you're not having those conversations, having that organic social media.
Brilliant, brilliant. So conference, while we're touching on, you sort of touched on conferences. I know you're sort of involved with a lot of conferences. What conferences would you recommend? Media point of view?
Well, depends on who you are, where you are, what you're wanting to learn. I'm in the social media marketing sphere. So every year I go to Social Media Marketing World in San Diego. And actually this year it happened. It was right at the end of February, early March. I left San Diego, and basically after that, the whole country and the whole world shut down. But that was one of the last big ones, 5,000 people, I think, maybe 6,000. That was a big one. There's some other ones in the US that I know, like Inbound's really big. I spoke there in 2018. It has something like 24,000 people, maybe.
I saw we had a mutual friend. We have obviously got several mutual friends on LinkedIn, but Dan Tyre, we've got a mutual friend, Dan Tyre.
Yes.
Yeah, I know Dan, yeah.
Yeah, I met him at Inbound, 24,000 people. And that's how I met Dan. It was this is a funny story. It was the last day, and I was talking to a new friend, and I'm leaning on something in like the trade show area. And he's just standing there. He's watching our conversation. And I finally was like, you know, like, what you do? He goes, "You're leaning on something, and underneath there is my briefcase." So we ended up talking. I had no idea he works for HubSpot, but you know, of course, we ended up talking, connecting on LinkedIn. It was a really nice conversation. So yeah, I met him in person. It was really, really cool.
He's lovely. They do a HubSpot do a sales training. They've got various different sales training. And myself and one of my colleagues here, we went on a training course with Dan about 2 years ago. Fantastic guy. Yeah, he's great. So Inbound is great, especially if you are e-commerce. There's Content Marketing World, which is in Cleveland, Ohio. That's a big one. I know there's a big web summit in Portugal every year. That's a big one. You know, depending on what type of marketing you want to. I keep every year. I sort of from a personal point of view as well as our listeners, but I try and go somewhere. You know, most years it doesn't always happen, but I didn't go anywhere last year. The year before, I went to Tennessee, and I flew out to Tennessee and went to ClickFunnels Live.
Yeah.
Russell Brunson, yeah. So I had sort of 7 days in Tennessee. So obviously you tie it in with a couple of extra days and have it's a long way. So.
That's fun.
I think San Diego's been on my list for a long time. Obviously there's a lot of digital marketing events there, isn't there?
There are, yeah. It's kind of the hub, and Social Media Marketing World is like, we call it like summer camp for marketers. We go there and yes, we're learning. I barely go to any sessions. I go there to meet up with my business partners. I go there to go whale watching or dancing. There's a nightclub party there. It's like summer camp. You get to have fun for like 5 days with all your friends that you normally only see online. But there's incredible learning, and there's the speakers are very approachable. It's just a fantastic event. And then the city of San Diego, I mean, I've been there 5 times now. It's just incredible. So I go back every year. I love it.
It's on my list. So I think any conversation in this day and age about social media, we need to touch on influencer marketing, you know, the sort of rise of influencer marketing. You know, it's not a recent thing really. It's, you know, quite a few years, but it's very much in the forefront now. How do you feel about influencer marketing?
Well, this is the book I was going to tell you about, The Age of Influence, that I'm reading. It's by Neil Schaefer. He sent it to me. He asked me to read it. So I kind of started it. It's super interesting. I think it's very powerful because here's the thing. I can tell everybody in the world that the purple shirt I'm wearing is awesome, and what it does and how it makes me look and how it makes me feel when I wear it. And it's all great, but I'm the one who's trying to sell it. If you tell me about my purple shirt,
Yeah.
or you tell your friends, it's way more powerful. It's when other people talk about you, it's powerful. Now, there's a difference between brand ambassadors and influencers. And so, that's something that people have to understand. An influencer, usually it's a one-time commitment to a brand. They get paid, they do a campaign, then they move away and they go support a different brand.
Yeah.
A brand ambassador is somebody who usually comes to the brand because they love and use the product or service. And then they come into that fold, maybe through that funnel, through that Facebook funnel, and they become the brand ambassador. They're usually an affiliate, if there's an affiliate program. And they just tell their circle of friends, their clients, their clientele, their audience about this brand. And it's a very natural conversation. There's every once in a while, there might be a campaign, but most of the time it's just, hey, you want to be on our live show? Hey, do you want to be on our podcast? Hey, we're going to be at this event. You want to come and have dinner with us? And just really having a relationship with the people that run the brand. So those are two different things. They're both doing influencer marketing, so to speak, but they feel different to me. And I'm just starting to work with a brand that has current influencers. So I'm super excited to be able to start learning more about what they've implemented, their contracts, how they find them. So this is a big national brand. So I'm looking forward to learning more. Because I work with small local companies, the brand ambassadorships, I've set up several. Those have worked really well for local small companies. So that's kind of my experience there, but I think they're brilliant. I think it makes a lot of sense.
I think it's, what I see here in the UK, which will be similar. It's just on the rise more and more and more. I think it's going to be a whole, it already is, but like when you look at, say, agency life and the different verticals within an agency, paid ads, social media, SEO, I think the whole influencer marketing brand, working with brands to find influencers to work with them long term. It's a whole sort of strand in our industry that I think